Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to Guiding Star Astrology. This is the next video in our series of the moon conjunct with one of the planets, and today we're looking at the moon with Mercury and what that means if you have it in your natal chart. Well, how do we determine if we have the moon sitting at the same point in the sky with Mercury at the time we were born? How do we determine that? Well, I would suggest going to astro.com, www.astro.com, and on that website you can enter your details of birth. Especially you might want to know the time of your birth. Enter in your details and you should come up with a chart that looks something like this. Now, this is a printout of my chart from astro.com that I have been working with for years. It's well loved, it's a bit tattered, as you can see down the bottom there, and it's been scribbled all over, but it is a really great reference to be able to refer to. So go to astro.com, pull up a chart like this, and in the chart you'll get this wheel chart, which is a map of the sky, and you'll also get a list of the planets and what degree they fall at, etc. But really what we're looking at for this video is the symbol for the moon and the symbol for Mercury. You'll see them in this planetary list to the side of the chart. So once you've determined what the symbol for the moon is and what the symbol for Mercury is, you can look on your chart, and if the symbols sit very tightly together in the same spot, then you have what is called a Mercury moon conjunction. And that's what we're discussing in today's video, the conjunction of Mercury and the moon in the birth chart. Now, let's begin. What does the moon represent in astrology? Well, it represents a number of things. The moon, firstly, is our emotional life and how we display our emotions, how we express our emotions, how our emotions will manifest within us, what we will feel. The moon is also what we need in life to be emotionally satisfied. So wherever the moon sits in the chart tells us a lot about what we need for emotional satisfaction and that feeling of stability, safety, and security in our life. The moon also represents our mother, and it also is an indicator if we are a woman or we have energy that pertains to being maternal. It tells us about how we might go about mothering our own children. So we can learn a lot about our mother and her style of parenting as well as her life through looking at the moon, as well as our own capacity to be maternal through looking at the moon as well. The moon is also an indicator of past lives. It tells us a bit about what, it's one of the components we look at to tell us about what we've experienced in a past life. And the moon is also connected to what a man might look for in a woman, the kind of woman he might like to marry. So all these things get bundled into what the moon represents in an astrological chart. What about Mercury? Mercury is a fascinating little planet. It is actually neither male nor female in astrology. It's kind of neutral, and it represents anything to do with communication. So it is all about writing, it's about speaking, it's about learning, it's about how we think and our logical thought processes, the processes of our mind. It is a very mental little planet, so it's not heavily involved in any emotional kind of stuff, it doesn't get into all that. It's much more about what's going on up here in our logical life. It's a youthful planet. So it correlates to being playful, having fun, having a youthful attitude and a youthful outlook on life. Young people, it represents young people in general, not of any specific gender, but just young people in general. And it's very witty and clever. A lot of comedians will have Mercury very strong in their chart somewhere, and highly intellectual as well. It gives a great mental capacity. It's also a very quick planet. It's a fast planet. It doesn't it's not pokey and slow. I mean, if you think quite logically about how Mercury travels in the solar system, it's doing lap after lap after lap of the sun, in about 3 laps of the sun for what takes the Earth a whole year to do. So it's moving very fast round and round the sun, and it gives a very quick energy. It's also in mythology the messenger of the gods. So it is about communication first and foremost. When you see Mercury, that's what it's all about in the horoscope. So what does it mean when these two planets, the Moon and Mercury, sit together in a sign? Well, we're going to look at the good components, and then we're going to move on to the more difficult components, and then we'll finish with some remedies to channel the purest, the best, the highest vibration of this combination energy. So when we have Mercury and the Moon together in the chart, what it's doing is uniting our thought processes with our feeling processes. They mingle together, all mixed up in a cauldron kind of thing. And so because of this combination of feelings and emotions that are intertwined, it results in demonstrating in people the capacity to easily become attached to people, to places, to things, to events. You know, we get this sentimentality, we get this sense of nostalgia even. For example, you might be, you know, sitting having a coffee and you're thinking, just running through your thoughts, and your thoughts go towards remembering the little teddy bear that you had when you were a little kid. And that brings up all these emotional feelings in you, of nostalgia and sentiment and awe, and it puts you in a happy place. You remember your beautiful little teddy bear. So your thought processes are highly connected to your emotional life. Remembering good times will put you in a good state of mental being. Equally, remembering difficulties, traumas, hurts, woundings, that's going to put you in a difficult emotional state. So really having good understanding of your thought processes and your mind, and using and controlling the mind to help you in life, is going to be very important for you guys, because it is so influential. Your state of, you know, happiness and joy is very much influenced by the mental processes that your mind undertakes. So learning to control your thoughts and have mastery over your thoughts is very, very important for Moon Mercury people to enjoy a satisfied, happy life. So that's the first thing that we see in the realm of the good Mercury-Moon conjunction. There's a capacity to have very genuine, close friendships with other people, and this is because your communication, when you're speaking with someone and talking and having conversation, is going to trigger in you a high emotional attachment, because again of this intertwined emotion and feeling nature that you have. So you will create genuine, close relationships and friendships with people because of that. Your communications and networking and socializing is going to create great emotional bonds with people. You will actually be someone who has the capacity to have lots of friends because of this. You'll be very popular, very well liked. Part of that, the reason for that, is that you will be very genuine and open with your feelings and with your emotions, and you'll have a good understanding of what your feelings and emotions are. I mean, we've all met people who are very disengaged with what they're actually feeling, like their mental processes and their emotional processes are poles apart. They might be feeling something but saying another, and that doesn't generate a great deal of trust in others in terms of friendship. You know, when their actions are doing one thing and their words are doing another, we kind of like, we don't like to be around people like that because it's disconcerting. But it's the opposite with Moon Mercury people. Their actions and their feelings and their thoughts, they're all lined up together. So we know where we stand. We can trust this person. We feel comfortable in their presence because their actions and their feelings and their words all line up. They are very open with their feelings as well, which is really attractive. People who are open books, who are not pretentious, who are not secretive, they're very appealing kinds of people to want to, you know, lots of people will gravitate to Moon Mercury people because of that capacity to be very open with their feelings, and that's what brings this popularity and this lots of friends that you will get. It is an indicator, Moon Mercury, for more right-brained styles of thinking. So you're going to be less about, say, science and mathematics, and more about literature, more about words and creativity and, you know, communicating and the psychology of things, much more right-brained activity. You might even be drawn to careers in sort of right-brained areas, but also in areas where you can express your emotions in writing, in speaking. You're going to be very much thinking a lot about emotional activity. So psychology is something that you may actually really excel in, because you'll be thinking a lot about you'll be thinking a lot about emotions. Wherever Mercury sits in the chart is what we think a lot about, and the moon is emotions. So you're going to think a lot about emotions and how emotions affect our daily interactions, and what triggers certain emotions, and looking at all in the emotional life and emotional healing. You'll be interested in all those topics, and you will also be drawn to careers in that realm. Now, as I said, it's a great placement for people who have a good capacity for emotional expression through literature or through talking and speaking, etc. J.K. Rowling is one example of this signature in the chart, and of course we know she's one of the most widely recognized children's writers in the world. The moon is connected to sort of that mother energy, so it's also no surprise that she writes for children. I mean, she's not writing maternal books, but she has that capacity of mother energy that's thinking about children. What would children like, and how can I entertain children? So there's that maternal moon in that regard, driving her to use expression of words in a career writing children's books. Mercury is to write and to speak and to think. So she's thinking along those very imaginative lines, and the moon actually does correlate strongly to imagination. The moon and Cancer as a sign as well are very invested in realms of imagination and fancy and dreaminess. Not quite as much as Pisces is, but definitely it is still there in moon or Cancer strong people. Now, because of Mercury in this placement with the moon, it's going to give you really terrific people skills, because Mercury is a networker, it's a communicator, it likes to be social, it's a very, very social little planet. So you're going to have excellent social skills, and you'll be very emotionally sensitive to the needs of others with Moon Mercury. You'll just know, the Mercury is knowing, and you'll pick up on the emotional needs of others, and you'll be attuned to that and sensitive to that. And you're gonna, because of that, it gives you great people skills, because you'll know how to relate. You'll be sensitized to the emotions that others are experiencing, and you'll know exactly how to communicate to that emotional state that they're in. So great people skills. It also gives you a wonderfully astute capacity to observe life and people, and to analyze how people behave, how life affects certain people. So there is this element of an analytical nature that involves itself with Moon Mercury conjunction. Now, as a mother, you're going to be, or your mother may have been, very mercurial. If you have Moon Mercury in your chart, it indicates that your mother was quite Mercury-like. So she might have been quite a wordy person. She might have liked to chat with you and talk with you and have conversations with you. She might have been very social. She might have been, have been involved in lots of social networking opportunities. She might have been even someone who ran a small business of her own, because Mercury is connected to business and trade and contracts for trade and so forth. It's also the indicator for small business in a person's chart as well. So your mother might have run her own small business. She might have been a teacher. If she wasn't a practicing teacher, she would have taught you a lot of skills and abilities as a mother. She probably was a very handy person. Maybe she was very practical as well. She might have been good at, say, practical skills of the hands like sewing, or maybe cooking, or she might have been very handy around the house, or just had a real knack with making things or creating things or using her hands. She might have been an excellent hairdresser. Those sorts of things. A very skillful, talented woman in that way. And indeed, your children are likely to recognize these qualities in you. This will be part of how you will mother your children. It's also a signature for playfulness. So you'll love playing games with your children, and get the board games out, get the word games out, and crosswords and things like that are going to feature quite strongly in the way you parent your children, because Mercury is to play. Mercury is to even be a little bit mischievous, actually, and witty. You might enjoy, you might have as a child enjoyed playing practical jokes on your mother, or she on you. April Fool's Day would have been a great day in your house. But Mercury moon brings this out in our nurturing capacity. Now, if you're not a woman and you have this in your chart, you will tend to either project that onto the women that you wish to date or marry. These qualities are what you will project outward to the women that you're attracted to. So you might be attracted, if you are a man with the moon and Mercury conjunct in your chart, you might be attracted to women women that you would consider marrying, not so much the dating side of things, but moon is women that men tend to want to marry. And you'll want to be with women who are playful, mercurial. They're probably quite intelligent women, or social women, people who like to communicate, people who are good at networking, women who like to meet down the street for coffee with friends, that sort of connectivity and social engagement. Also women who are quite skillful at various things. You might be drawn to women who are have a good capacity, such as they run their own business, or they have tremendous practical skills. So these are some of the things you might be really drawn to. Also humor in a woman. If you are a man with this signature, you might be very much drawn to women who make you laugh, who are funny and engaging and good conversationalists. So that's what we would see with a man with Moon Mercury signature. Now, as far as past lives go, Mercury and the Moon indicates that in a past life, it's likely that you will have experienced some kind of mercurial environment in your past incarnations. So this might mean that in a past life you ran a business, or in a past life you were a craftsman or a tradesman of some sort, or tradeswoman. Maybe you were a seamstress, or maybe you're a woodworker in some kind of past incarnation. Maybe you were a teacher or a business person. It also indicates that maybe in a past life you had a very youthful orientation, or you worked with young people in some way, or you were involved with young people, because Mercury is youthfulness. You might have been a scribe or a writer. You might have done some kind of literary type work. And you might have also been someone who took a lot of short trips if you have Moon Mercury conjunction. So for example, you might have just an example of Australia, you might have been a merchant who travelled to Melbourne, picked up the goods that had just arrived from England, took them back to your small town shop, and there you sold them. So there was lots of short trips, say to and from Melbourne in that example, involved in how you lived your life. You're always doing lots of little bits of traveling here and there, or you might have even been something of a traveler in terms of, like in Australia we have in the time of the Depression, we had swagmen that were quite common around Australia, people who walked from farm to farm, and Mercury is to walk from farm to farm looking for work. During the Depression we called them swagmen. So that could easily have been part of your experience in a past life, where you would move around quite a bit. So that's what we would see in terms of a past life association with Moon and Mercury conjunction. So what about the more negative connotations of Moon with Mercury in the chart? Well, it is a combo that can create anxiousness in our lives. This happens partly because Mercury is the ruler of Virgo, and Virgo as a sign is a sign of seeking perfection and worry. And so those tones can come through in this. And because Mercury does correlate a bit to this over-processing mental, think energy, when it's combined with the Moon, which is emotions, and we're in that overthinking state, and we just don't stop, and the mental processing, then our emotions get all wound up and bunched up and anxious, that knot that we feel when we're anxious and we're just so tense. That can be a result of overthinking for these people. So when I get to remedies, we'll talk a little more about anxiety. Not that we have all the solutions in the world in astrology for anxiety, but there are some tricks when you've got this in your chart to help calm and alleviate that anxiousness that can come with this combo. But the good thing is, regarding this, is that there can be quick changes in mood. Now, some people might say, oh, well, that's moodiness. Not necessarily. It just means you're able to flit from one thing to another because Mercury is quick. So the quick energy of Mercury can give you a bit of relief from that anxiety. So, for example, you're in a zone where you've got all het up and overthinking, I'm going to be late for work and they'll fire me and I'm not going to, and your mind goes down the rabbit hole and you're emotionally bunched up by the time you get to work. You get to work and they've put on a special morning tea at work because it happens to be some fundraising day, a special day, and everyone's happy and in a good mood, and they're all got their jeans on instead of their work clothes because they're raising money for whatever, and everyone's happy, and it's like, okay, good, relief, I'm here at work, nobody's angry. Quickly switch out of that head up mode and enter into the spirit of the moment, that social connectivity at work. That's just one example. So there is the capacity, thankfully, to move swiftly between emotions and not get too it's easier for you guys to get out of the rabbit hole of difficult thinking than it would be for some other combinations. So the tendency to anxiety is there, but also the capacity to move out of it with intention is also present for you. So that's a blessing. So we can, when we have Moon and Mercury together, we can take the words of others a bit too personally, because the Mercury component of this combo is about speaking to others and also listening as well. It's any type of communicative endeavor, including social media, jumping on social media and putting a text up here and la la la. Those sorts of things can trigger a sense of sensitivity in us. So this is one of the signs that if you were to pop YouTube videos up and someone puts a dislike up there, you would be like, oh my goodness, what have I done? Why did they dislike it? How come they don't like my video? I've spent so much time preparing it. That kind of sensitivity to communication, to the words of others, to social media, to comments on YouTube or on Twitter or whatever, can really be heightened for you guys because your feelings are so attached to the words and the communications that you process throughout the day. So you need to take caution with that. For example, if this is a known sensitivity that you have, this taking the words and the thoughts the expressed thoughts of others very sensitively, then don't read the comments on YouTube videos by all means, or you'll go nuts. Stay away from that sort of thing. Take conscious action around these things, because you will have the knowledge that, hey, I'm highly sensitized to the communications and the words of others. So just watch out for that one. That's one of the difficulties. Now, the next sort of bad thing, if you want to call it that, or difficulty or challenge with Mercury Moon conjunction, is that we can look for emotional validation of our logical thoughts, and vice versa. We can look for logical answers to our emotional feelings. So what I mean by that is that we can have paranoia in the simplest sense of the word. For example, we might have an experience, for example, with a politician where they ripped us off and they totally were corrupt and they did the dirty on us. And so from then on, you have this idea in your head: all politicians are corrupt and they do not have the best interests of the community in mind. Maybe that's true, but in fact, we won't go into that. But that can be a thought process that you reach based on your experiences. And because of that, you are then looking for validation of that thought process or that sense of knowledge that you've got. So instead of seeing the good things that some politicians might be doing in the community, you will actually be looking more for validation of this thought process that you have received. So you'll be looking for signs of corruption, for signatures that support your feeling based on what you've experienced and your thought process as a result of that experience that you've had. So I hope that makes sense. You will be looking, you'll have this paranoia, simple as that, this paranoia about whatever it is you've experienced and believed, and you're looking for validation for whatever this particular paranoia is. Now, I'm not saying that everybody with Moon Mercury conjunction is a paranoid crazy person, not at all. That's not what I'm trying to say here. I'm just giving a little bit of knowledge as power to watch out for the warning signs. Hey, maybe I'm being, a little bit too head up about the corruption of politicians, or whatever the topic happens to be that you're a bit obsessed with. Keep an eye out for those signatures as they pop up in your life, and just know, there goes my Mercury moon again. Yes, I'm just going down that little paranoid rabbit hole, and accept, be at peace with the way you're wired. Okay, so not trying to say we're all Mercury moon people are paranoid, but something to watch out for. Now, the other difficult component of this conjunction is that we can, when we have it, always be seeking advice and affirmation from other people. Maybe not affirmation, it's more the advice and the knowledge and the guidance, if you like, of other people, and we can be afraid that we will make a wrong decision ourselves. So there's this hesitancy to actually make a decision, to actually take a step forward with whatever the situation happens to be. So just watch out for that as well. Always looking to other people and asking other people, what do you think? Should I do this? Should I do that? Be prepared that might crop up from time to time, but learn to make decisions yourself and trust your intuition. Trust the logical mind combining with the feelings, and if it gives you that, if your thoughts are giving you that good feeling, trust your intuition and take a step. Don't hesitate. So they're the more challenging components of Mercury Moon combo. What can we do to deal with those challenging things? Well, basically anything that involves writing, speaking, communicating, connecting with others can be very, very beneficial to redirect the energy of Mercury Moon into something more high vibrational, uplifting. And that's what a remedy actually is. We've talked about the challenging components of Moon Mercury. They are the lower vibrational expressions of this combo. If we actively and consciously pursue the higher vibrations of this energy, we will mitigate the effect of the more negative, lower vibrations. That's simply what a remedy is. It's lifting your gaze, it's lifting your energy to something higher. So how can we do that? Well, we might like to journal about our feelings and our thoughts. If we're in a state of anxiety and we have the capacity to do so, we can write about our feelings. We can express them in a journal, or we could email a friend. You know what, I'm just feeling like the world's going nuts right now and I'm not coping. Send that message to a text to a friend or email a friend, and write it out. Get it outside of your body and express it in words, which is Mercury. So write, express, share, communicate in some way, and that will lift the vibration outside your body and dissipate that anxiety or the paranoia or whatever it is that pops up for you. You could meet up with some friends. I mean, it is a very social planet, Mercury, and the moon is emotional satisfaction. So meeting with friends can be very satisfying and rebalancing for you. Go for a coffee down the street, or even have a friend round to your house for a catch up, or go visit a friend, but connect with other people. Connect with your networks, connect with your social groups, and talk, share, open up. Be real, be genuine, be honest, which you're very good at, Mercury Moon people. And in doing so, you again channel the higher energy of this combo. If you were to use your skills in some way, that would also be a blessing, because Mercury is skills of the hands. Now, I don't have this combo, but I do find that when I am going a little bit stir crazy, shall we say, I love to go jump on my sewing machine, and I lose myself in the mental process of creating something. Actually, I have Mercury with Saturn, and that's exactly what's expressing there. It's that, when Saturn causes worry. It's that, okay, I'll go to my Mercury and create something with my hands, in other words, a dress or a blouse or something like that. So you can alleviate any tension in your life, worries or overly worried or overly perfection oriented or paranoias or so on, by doing some sort of skillful work. It might be doing some sort of technical drawing. That might give you a great sense of satisfaction. And it's almost meditative, actually, I find, with my sewing. You lose yourself. You lose all sense of time. You lose all sense of the moment. And you're actually in the moment, but you lose all sense of everything going on around you and your external circumstances, because you're focused on the task at hand, on the, using your skills, using your talents. So that could be any type of mercurial activity, like creative writing, creating a website, creating a blog. It might be sewing, like I said, which is a skill of the hands. It could be woodworking. It could be technical drawing. I mean, the list is as long as your arm. Whatever you lose all sense of time doing is a great place to direct your energy and lift your vibration when things get out of balance with Mercury moon expressions of, like I said, paranoia and anxiety and over worry and so forth, perfectionism. The last thing, or one of the other remedies that you can employ if you need to lift your vibration regarding these things, is to actually learn something new. Mercury is to learn. Mercury is to acquire new skills and new abilities. Jump on YouTube and find a video on, I don't know, how to fix your leaky plumbing or something, whatever happens to do it for you. Learn something new, learn a new skill, learn a new ability. It doesn't have to mean that you're going to become a plumber or anything, but just learn some new skill that you can apply to your life in a practical way. Mercury is a very practical planet. You can also read something new. Teach something to somebody else. For example, I've got 3 kids, and I love to spend time teaching my daughter how to sew. She's actually developing quite a skill for it herself. So it's in teaching that we can lose the moment, like the sense of time and place, and we get lost in what we're doing. That the skill of teaching somebody, and that can lift our vibration also. Also, learning about your emotions, because obviously Mercury is learning and it's with the moon. So reading a book on emotional intelligence, listening to a YouTube clip about emotional intelligence. I mean, if you're interested in doing that sort of thing, I highly recommend the School of Life, which is all about a YouTube channel all about emotional intelligence and various perspectives on emotional intelligence. So that's another option. But yeah, getting invested in learning about your emotions and how they display and what triggers certain emotional expressions, and a bit of psychology. Get stuck into that. That can be very uplifting if you're struggling with Mercury difficulties. And this will be the final remedy, but take short trips. Mercury is to do short trips, and you will enjoy doing short trips because of Mercury conjunct with moon. The moon is our enjoyment and what we need to feel satisfied and happy. By jumping in the car and going for a drive to a nearby town, maybe having a coffee or a wander through the shops, that will really stabilize you. Taking a short trip, having a drive somewhere. Mercury actually does correlate to cars, so they are connected. It's a great time to do that when you're feeling a bit imbalanced and unstable or emotionally upset in some way. Take a drive. It will really help dissipate any tension that you're experiencing when you're a Mercury moon person. So make sure your car's got a nice full tank of fuel and handy whenever you're in an emotional crisis. So that's what we see when we have Mercury conjunct with the moon in the natal chart. I hope this has been insightful for you if you've got this placement, or if you know somebody who has got this placement. Thanks for joining me, and I'll have another video in this series for you next week.